What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Open Great League, and more specifically, we're going to be taking a look at Fury Cutter GOLISOPOD. Now, GOLISOPOD already has access to Fury Cutter this season, but next season it's going to be a Psywave clone, which means it's going to be an incredibly powerful Pokemon, and it's going to be rank 6 on PvPoke next season. Today we're going to be pairing it with a Steelix on the lead and a Jumpluff in the back, and without further ado, let's just hop right into some battles. Okay, in the first match, we've got a Blastoise on the lead. Now, this is a pretty decent lead because we have super effective Thunder Fangs, and my opponent can only go for Hydro Cannons here, which, while they are super effective, do not one-shot. So I can live one, and because they have no fast move pressure with Rollout, I can always dictate switch. Here comes a Psychic Fangs. My opponent knows they can live that very comfortably, and my opponent throws on alignment in order to outpace, but now I can just shield this up. And because they threw an alignment, I would be able to get the full farm down, so my opponent switches into their Drifblim. Now they're going to be met with a Psychic Fang, so already core broken by the electric fast move pressure on the Steelix. Coming in with my GOLISOPOD, I know I can live one Shadow Ball, so I will let this go. My opponent baits with an Icy Wind, which is a bit of a strange play. Now, going for the Aqua Jet, of course, this is a matchup where we would rather be on Shadow Claw because instead of resistant fast move pressure, we'd have super effective fast move pressure. My opponent only farms up to another Icy Wind, so I will let this go. Can I get it to another Aqua Jet? I can, but my opponent makes a really nice catch onto their Blastoise, which means they live that and get a rollout farm down. However, they are in 2 Thunder Fang range, so I can come in with my Steelix, get the Thunder Fang farm down, and now that allows me to come out with a Psychic Fangs against the Drifblim, and I can just go for a bunch of super effective Thunder Fangs. Now I can pick up the knockout with the next Psychic Fangs, and Psychic Fangs does pick up the knockout. What's in the back? It's a Annihilate, and we have the perfect alignment with our Jumpluff, and my opponent just resigns the match. Into the next match, another decent lead, another water type. Now, of course, we do take super effective from Sparkling RA here, but their fast move is resisted and our fast move is super effective. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw 6 Thunder Fangs and then swap into my GOLISOPOD to eat resisted damage, but unfortunately, my opponent is actually running Skull Bash, and that hits for massive neutral damage and puts me in Psywave farm down range. And it also buffs their defense so they can live, it looks like probably 2 X-Scissors here, which is pretty unfortunate. Second X-Scissor connects, leaves them at 1 HP. I'm going to come with my Jumpluff because they only have enough energy for a Sparkling Aria, and I know I can live this on the Jumpluff very comfortably because it is resisted damage. We get the Fairy Wind farm down because we did get 1 turn lag there. They then come in with a Drifblim in the back. No baits here, full sending the Acrobatics. Do they respect the damage? They do, and unfortunately I'm just going to stay in because I want to force them to throw this energy, and they do throw it right away, and now I'm instantly switching into my Steelix because I can still outpace, make it to a Psychic Fangs before they make it to another charge move, and while they do have a charge move here, I can live whatever this is pretty comfortably. Steelix is very bulky, so I let it go. It is just the Icy Wind, and what is in the back, it is a Tinkaton. They do make it to a Bulldoze here, but this, while it is super effective damage, is non-threatening to the Steelix, and they have no ability to farm me down. So what I'm going to do is go full send the Earthquake. My opponent does not expect that. They're going for the Fairy Wind farm down. It looks like they might actually get it because they dropped my defense with the Bulldoze, which forces me to swap into my Jumpluff. I shield up, it is the Play Rough, and now this comes down to a game here of catch. My opponent doesn't get the catch, so I'm going to send the Aerial Ace. They let that go. They're trusting in their Drifblim to finish out this game, but I am loaded with energy. Aerial Ace took out the Tinkaton, and can I outpace to another Aerial Ace? I can, and just like that, Shadow Jumpluff sweeping this end game, making it to so many Aerial Aces to take that win. Okay, Steelix into, is that the Electric Rotom? It is. Okay, so unexpected lead, and honestly a core breaker to my team, just because Jumpluff hits for resisted charge move damage. I have resisted fast move damage here, and it resists Fury Cutter and X-Scissor on my GOLISOPOD. So bit of an awkward matchup here, but They actually end up switching out of that matchup because the Thunderfangs were adding up, and they switch into a Jumpluff. Now, I'm just going to stay in this matchup and spam out the Psychic Fangs because this is a non-Shadow Jumpluff, and if they're not on Energy Ball, this is very comfortable for the Steelix, and I can very comfortably live that Acrobatics. I can make it to another Psychic Fangs, and while this doesn't do a lot of charge move damage, it will do a lot in lowering their defense and letting these Thunderfangs add up. It will also allow me to come in with my, oh, never mind, they're actually going to switch back into the Rotom, which is okay because I can come in with my Jumpluff, and Rotom is pretty glassy, so I will probably let this go and then just pick up the knockout with an Aerial Ace after overfarming a little bit. They are on Astonish, so they're doing some decent fast move pressure, and it is Stab, so I am going to pick up the knockout with the Aerial Ace. What does my opponent do? They have a Lapras in the back, so what I'm going to do is they have 2 shields, and basically just a Lapras. They're pretty low on their other Pokemon, so I'm going to bait with an Aerial Ace, bank the rest of that energy, and then come in with my GOLISOPOD. GOLISOPOD, I got hit by a 1-skill bash already, so I will respect it. It is just a Sparkling Aria. In comes the Jumpluff, and Jumpluff will be instantly met with a X-Scissor. X-Scissor does some solid damage, and we actually get the Fury Cutter farm down before my opponent can get to a charge move, which is huge, because now I can also outpace the Lapras to another X-Scissor. Well, they're virtually at 2 moves at this point, or almost at 2 moves. At this point, I am going to call the bait, because if they baited me again, they would make it to a Skull Bash, so we get the bait call right. We get to the X-Scissor, but it wouldn't be enough to KO from that range, so I actually switch, make my opponent make a decision whether they want to shield or not. Or not shield, but throw their energy or not, and they do not, so that allows me to get to an Acrobatics, and that connects and picks up the knockout on the Shadow Lapras, so we're able to take that win. Into the next match, terrible lead, we've got a Diggersby, and this is a matchup where it's actually really nice to be on X-Scissor. My opponent tries to make an Aqua Jet catch onto a Goodra, but they are unsuccessful. And here comes an X-Scissor, and it looks like that does about 50%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to overfarm, play to the CMP tie when they get to their Thunder Punch. My opponent lets that go, and they completely sacrifice the Goodra. In the back, they actually had a Giratina, and that's why it's important to check the fast move. They probably didn't come in with their Giratina because they were expecting Shadow Claw on the GOLISOPOD. But now, because I was able to flip switch, I can just align my Steelix with this Giratina and my Jumpluff on their Diggersby. Of course, with 1 turn lag, they are going to outpace expeditiously here, and they are going to actually connect with a Hyper Beam, which does huge damage, and that is really unfortunate because we need to land some solid damage on this Diggersby, or else we are screwed. So once again, baiting with an Aerial Ace. Now we're going to full send the Acrobatics. My opponent is overfarming here because they only have Hyper Beam for damage. They do not have Fire Punch. I imagine they're on Scorching Sands as well. Here comes a Scorching Sands onto the Steelix. Doesn't quite 2-shot, which is good news, because they have 2 moves on their Giratina, or are just short of 2 moves. So I have to live 2 charge moves from the Diggersby, and I do. And now I'm just watching for a catch, going for a Earthquake before they make it to their 3rd Scorching Sands. And because Quick Attack is resisted, they go for a Snipe with their Giratina. I do get my Fairy Wind there through there, which is nice. They do only have to go for Ominous Winds here, but these Fairy Winds are going to add up, and I can double shield this because I save both shields, which is coming in clutch in this end game. And all I have to do is leave with a charge move, and I leave with an Acrobatics loaded. So no matter what health that Diggersby is at, as long as it's below like 40%, this Acrobatics will be enough to pick up the knockout, and we somehow are able to take that win against a Diggersby lead. Great lead in the next match. We've got a Steelix into a Tinkaton. This is a great matchup, even though they have super effective Bulldoze, because Bulldoze, while it's great coverage on the Tinkaton, is a pretty crap move. And while it does lower my defense, I can live 2 very comfortably. I would get to the 2nd Earthquake at the same time as they get to their 2nd Bulldoze. So that's why I just threw the Thunderfang and went for the overfarm here, now throwing right before they make it to their 3rd Bulldoze. My opponent knows they can probably live this, but they can't because I'm running Earthquake, so that picks up the knockout. They come in with a Furret, which is a bit of an interesting play, but I'm realizing I'm on Fury Cutter on the GOLISOPOD, so I can actually save my Steelix for later. So I bank the rest of that energy. They have a Malamar in the back, and look at these Fury Cutters go. Now I'm going to throw the X-Scissor on the CMP tie with the first charge move of the opponent. and they shield that up. But look at how much damage those Fury Cutters were doing. This is double super effective on the Malamar. They are chunking. They're going to do even more damage next season, throwing the next X Scissor right before they get to their third charge move. And as soon as I grab this shield, this game is over. So I will let this go. I can now come in with my Steelix, get the farm down. They do not allow me to get there, so I'm just going to connect with a Psychic Fangs against the Furret, which they can no longer reset because they just committed switch. And all I have to do is live 2 Swifts here, and I can do that extremely comfortably. And all I have to do is make it to an Aerial Ace because we lowered their defense. I'm going to throw the Aerial Ace right away because I do not want their switch timer to come up. So here comes a second Swift. I can live that very comfortably. And I could even live a charge move from the Malamar if I really wanted, but Aerial Ace picks up the knockout. We were able to get the Fairy Wind farm down of the Malamar, and just like that, we're able to take that win. And that was a 5-0 for the first set. Okay, Steelix into Furret. So this is a pretty neutral lead because Sucker Punches are neutral and Trailblaze is neutral. They, of course, can't go for Swift here because Swift would be resisted damage. Psychic Fangs does connect. And I am always going to be able to outpace because it's straight 6 to the Psychic Fangs where it's a 7-6 to the Trailblaze. So as long as I throw right away, I'll be able to outpace. And while Trailblaze does do slightly more damage than the Psychic Fangs, so I'm just going to go for a catch here out of this matchup and save my Steelix for something in the back, depending on what it is. I am on Fury Cutter here, so we can potentially get the farm down. My opponent safe switches into a Air Slash Mana Buzz, so that is pretty unfortunate because they will be able to get the farm down here. I am going to go for an Aqua Jet at the very last second. So we were able to connect with 2 Aqua Jets, and our fast move wasn't resisted here. It was neutral damage instead, so doing some okay chip there. We're basically just forcing the energy out of this Mana Buzz. They have to go for a Dark Pulse, and they're not going to be able to get a great farm down here. So I'm just going to commit to the Thunder Fangs. That does pretty solid damage, and I will shield this up because now I can go for the Fairy Wind farm down and come out loaded with energy, and it's a Clay Doll in the bag. So I am going to go for an Aerial Ace bait, expecting my opponent to want to get off this Rock Tomb first in order to lower my attack, and that's exactly what they do. They have farmed it up enough for an Ice Beam here, but I have only 1 win con, and that is calling the bait, and they do just go for a Rock Tomb, which is huge. And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to bait with an Aerial Ace, even though I have energy for the Acrobatics. Does my opponent respect it? They do, so that's huge because now I can connect with an Acrobatics, and these fast moves are triple resisted on Jump Bluff, so they're doing no damage. But look at how little that Acrobatics did against the bulky Clay Doll, just because they lowered our attack once. Here comes the second lowering of the attack, and I cannot reset this. Just watching for a catch here. They do go for the catch right before I was about to throw, but their Furret, I believe, is close to a charge move here, so I have to be wary. They do come in with the Furret. I'm going to go for the Aerial Ace, pick up the knockout, and I believe I'm only 1 away from the Acrobatics, and that's all I need because they're only 1 away from their next charge move. And as long as this is enough with a lowered attack to pick up the knockout on the Clay Doll, which it is, we get a triple sweep with the Shadow Jump Bluff. I know this is supposed to be a GOLISOPOD showcase, but holy cow, Jump Bluff. Into the next match, fantastic lead. We've got a Carbink, and they are staying in. So clearly something is massively wrong with my opponent's team, which is kind of strange because Carbink is often paired with Superior. They just make a very solid core. I am going to full send the Earthquake. It does land. They safe switch into an Annihilate, and it was a little slow on the switch, so I'm going to commit the shield expecting this to be an Ice Punch, and it is. So that's a huge shield, and now I can overfarm here. This is the non-shadow, so it probably could live this Aerial Ace, but realistically, I'm just going to go for the knockout. I farm back up to the Acrobatics, now going for an Aerial Ace again, because now I'm able to outpace, and they commit both shields. So clearly, they want to get off this Ice Punch damage. I'm not going to let them. I'm going to shield that up, but then they make a nice play, and they snipe with their Carbink. And because I was a little slow on the switch, my switch timer wasn't up yet. I'm going to let them connect with that energy, and then I'm going to come in with my Steelix. Steelix should be able to get the full Thunderfang farm down here. I can live any 1 charge move. It will be non-threatening to the Steelix. It is the Moonblast. Hopefully it doesn't lower our attack. It does not. Are they going to come back in with the Annihilate? No, they're going to come in with a Superior instead. So I'm going to go for the Psychic Fangs right away. And now I'm going to go for the Overfarm just a little bit. Now going for a second Psychic Fangs. And this is another matchup where GOLISOPOD really benefits with having the Fury Cutter because it's super effective as opposed to neutral. They come back with the Annihilate. All I'm going to do here with the Jump Bluff is overfarm, let them get to a charge move if they get there, and then just come out with energy loaded, which forces my opponent to throw their energy, which means they should be nearly energy dry, and now I can just come in with my Golisopod. All I have to do is make it to 1 X-Scissor because the Fury Cutters will put them in range for the X-Scissor, and look at the damage go. They know they have to make it to back-to-back Aerial Aces, and they're not going to get there, so here comes an X-Scissor, able to pick up the knockout on the Superior, and we are able to take that win. Okay, Steelix finds a pretty neutral lead in the next match. Poison Stings are, what, triple resisted here, but Aqua Tail is super effective. So I will just stay in this matchup. I will take 1 Aqua Tail, and then what I like to do now is I like to overfarm and then switch on the next Aqua Tail to waste that energy, and that way I have banked energy on the Steelix in case I need to make an Earthquake on the Drapion later in the game. And because I caught, they did not see my fast move, which means they come in with a Malamar, only to be met with double super effective Fury Cutters. That lands, it's on the CMP tie. They will never be able to outpace here, and we always win CMP. So all we have to do is always throw our energy right away, and that's exactly what we're going to do. They throw on CMP once again, and at this point, this game is already over because X-Scissor connects, but they have a Jump Bluff in the back. So this actually could get a little bit interesting. I will be able to connect with another X-Scissor, and now they will get the full farm down. But if they're on double flying movesets, I can completely wall them here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a Psychic Fangs right away, lowering their defense, making them want to switch out of this matchup. And then I'm just going to go for the Thunder Fangs. They come back in with the Drapion. I'm going to go 4 Thunder Fangs, go for an Aqua Tail catch onto my Jump Bluff, but I'm unsuccessful. My opponent holds onto their energy after being caught on once. They do land the crunch, and they get the defense drop, which is extremely unfortunate because that means 2 crunches will be enough to KO plus the Poison Stings. I will be able to grab a shield with that Aerial Ace, and at this point I have to let this go because they're at back-to-back Aqua Tails, and I would not be able to shield that and outpace, so I'm just going to let it go. I can come in with my Steelix. As long as I can survive a charge move from this Jump Bluff, then this game should be over. So here comes the Psychic Fangs. I just have to go for the full farm down, get to another Psychic Fangs. This should pick up the knockout, and it does. Now it's Thunder Fang versus Poison Sting, and they were 4 away from an Aqua Tail, and they were only 4 fast moves away from getting KO'd, so we are able to take that win. Pretty good lead in the next match. Lapras, they safe switch into an Annihilate, which is kind of a crazy safe switch, but at least in the current meta, with all the Psywave users and flyers like Jump Up, but they are running Ice Punch for coverage on the Jump Bluff. I do get that shield call correct, and now I'm at back-to-back Aerial Aces, so my opponent just lets that go. What are they going to do here? They're going to come back in with the Lapras. I'm going to full send the Acrobatics here, no baits, because they have to go for an Ice Beam in order to pick up the knockout. And as soon as that connects, I'm going to bank that rest of that energy and then safe switch into my GOLISOPOD because I'm hoping that everything is resisted here, but no, they are on Skull Bash. I don't know why all my opponents are on Skull Bash now. Ice Beam is the recommended moveset for Lapras. But we are still able to survive that, get off an X-Scissor, and now it's what is in the back. It is a Clodsire. Now, we did save some energy on the Jump Bluff, so hopefully that'll come in clutch later. And we are able to grab a shield. So now all we have to do is grab a final shield for my opponent. I know I can live 1 charge move here, so I'm going to instantly debuff their defense because 1 Earthquake is not enough to KO, and they know that's super effective damage, but they have to let that go because the Jump Bluff energy is going to be a lot more threatening, and now their defense is permanently lowered. I do get the correct shield call on that Earthquake, and now I go for an Earthquake catch onto my Jump Bluff. I'm unsuccessful, but they allow me to get to an Acrobatics, and they shield that up, which means this game is over. Even though they're at nearly back-to-back moves at this point, I can still live an Earthquake on my Steelix here, and because I'm in the green health, and their Poison Stings are triple resisted, so they have no ability to farm down, and their defense is permanently lowered. So here comes a super effective Earthquake for the Clodsire that picks up the knockout, and we are able to take that win. Into the final match of the video. Tough lead. We're going to safe switch into our GOLISOPOD, and while we don't have super effective fast move pressure, My opponent still ends up safe switching into something that would resist Shadow Claw. And now they're going to be met with an Aqua Jet. An Aqua Jet does massive damage to the Diggersby, and I can live any charge move here very comfortably. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Fire Punch does pretty crap damage to the GOLISOPOD. It is only neutral because it's super effective on Bug but resistant on Water. But I'm always able to outpace here, so I'm just going to match shields with my opponent. There we're going to throw another Fire Punch. I'm fine with that. I just want to align my Jump Fluff on this Diggersby, so I'm going to overfarm here. I now should be able to nearly outpace if they go for the farm down, but my opponent decides to actually let that go, and now they want an energy lead on their Annihilate. So I'm going to come in with my GOLISOPOD, grab that final shield for my opponent, and now I have alignment. However, they could have super effective Ice Punch here, and this is Shadow on Shadow, so I will respect this damage. It is only the Rage Fist, so potentially boosting that. So now I'm going to go for an Aerial Ace right away because I pretty much need to pick up the knockout here. They're not quite at the Ice Punch, but we do pick up the knockout there. What's in the back? My opponent doesn't want to show me, so they just resign the match. But yeah, I mean, that's the team. That is Fury Cutter GOLISOPOD. This thing is honestly really strong, even in the current meta, and it kind of surprised me because it's like, why is that not used? It's just because Shadow Claw is such a good move. But now that Fury Cutter is a clone of Shadow Claw, but it's a one-turn move, and it gets stab on GOLISOPOD. I think this thing is going to be an absolute menace next season, and I cannot wait to see how it performs. But that's going to be it for me from this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, peace.